Hello, my name is Brian and I'm here today to give you a more detailed rundown of how together with Marty, Reiko and Leia we managed to achieve a third place in the recent Eggstra Work event. We were the highest placing Western team with a total of 333 eggs, and yes, I know that is a lot of trees. Now, for those who don't know, Eggstra Work is an event in Salmon where each team is given the exact same seed that you need to optimize. This means that whatever shift you're playing, it will be the exact same shift each time that you play it again. And it will be the exact same for every other team as well. Apart from maybe some hazard level changes depending on how well you're doing, but we're not going to go into that really. Because as we're really looking into pushing the limit here, it's going to be the same hazard level each time that we play it. Now for those interested in just the shift itself, I already have a video up on just the gameplay that you can check out. But for those interested in everything that's going on, I will try my best to give a wave by wave breakdown of what we're doing and what's exactly happening. Admittedly, I still need to learn a lot when it comes to properly explaining these things, so I'm sorry if anything is unclear. And if there is, please feel free to ask about it in the comments and I'll do my best to regularly answer things there. But without further ado, let's head into wave 1 here. Yeah, we're skipping all this. Let's be real here, getting 21 eggs in 100 seconds isn't too challenging, and I imagine not many of you struggle with it either. So, as my team is covering the eggs in mid, I'll just be pinning the map to make sure that whatever we're doing in the shift later is not going to be causing us too much trouble. Because my team can pretty much single-handedly handle the eggs in mid. And they're also going for lessers, which are cohawks, chums and small fries, as well as snatchers. Because we do want to get as much power eggs as we can too, because it didn't turn out to be the case, but if there was a tie, then power eggs would be the next factor to determine which place you get as a team. So they are somewhat important. But anyway, as easy as this wave was, as difficult is the next one gonna be. Because even though it's only 120% hazard level, which isn't a lot still, because it is gorillas, this got very complex very quickly. Before I play this out, I need to explain a few things for us to properly understand what's going on here. There is something very fundamental about Salmon that you need to understand for this, and it's probably something that many of you figured out as well during this event, is that Salmon, it works a lot in spawn groups. So for example, on this map you have a spawn group on the left, in the middle, and on the right, and you always have these 3 spawn groups. And so what happens is that during the wave, these spawn groups will rotate on a consistent timer. So for example, you can have, let's say, bosses coming from the left side for like 10 seconds, and then after that they'll come from the right side for 10 seconds, and then maybe mid, or they'll go back to this one. It can be any order. It just can't be the same twice, and that's all that's really going on here. Now the reason this is important is because, as you might imagine, we want the gorilla to come to the baskets as fast as possible. And whether it's coming from, say, here to basket, or, I don't know, here, the distance is a lot longer because of it. So where it's coming from matters a lot. Now what's happening in the shift that we're playing? In our case it starts on the left, which is pretty good. It comes pretty fast for us. But after this, the spawns come from the right instead. Now you might think this path here doesn't seem too bad. It's pretty short when it comes to going to the basket. However, the problem are these turns here. Anyone who played gorillas on this map will know that it just takes forever for them to get through this. First of all, because the gorillas are very fast when it comes to just taking a straight line, but when they need to like take them in corners, they take a lot longer to take those corners. And particularly this section here, they take so long to deal with this. So we really don't want gorillas to come this way. It's even more optimal for gorillas from this side to just go along the middle, because it's a lot faster, because there's so less turns than it is for them to come to the right side. For people who play this shit, you probably know that it's pretty easy to get 2 gorillas to come from the left side. However, it is possible to get a third gorilla here to spawn, but it is very tight. You have, I think, a margin of like 89.5 seconds on the timer to 90, somewhere in between there, I think, to get the third gorilla to spawn. The second gorilla needs to die within this time frame if you want a third one to die from this side as well. So, now that we know that, let's play this out. So how do we achieve this? Now, first of all, even though we're playing the same shift, the gorilla aggro is actually still different, which means which player it targets. So we're all standing on the ramp here, so that we can first see who's being targeted. And as you'll probably see, I think it was Leia. Yeah, Leia is being targeted, and that gives Reiko or me the go sign to just drop on the girder to help kill it as fast as we can. And as you'll see, this one basically dies in like 2-3 seconds, which is it's fast. And we have to do this, because we need to match this timer. And as you'll see, I'm already watching for the next girder as well, because we want to, again, as you watch the timer, like 90, 89, it just barely dies fast enough. If this griller dies half a second or even just a fraction of a second later, the next griller wouldn't be coming from this side. But now, it does. Now, something I should mention about this wave and the shift in general is that at the start of the wave, we are very much killing everything at the shoreline because there's not much else for us to do right now and we can just afford it. And as the wave goes on, we'll be playing closer to our basket a lot more. However, before we continue, there's something important here. As you might notice, Marty is calling out for this way because what we want to do is we want to actually stay on this side of the map. Because as I explained earlier, there's now grillers coming from the right side here. And we want to avoid it from taking the long path around here on the side because the turns just slow it down so much, even though the path is shorter. So we want to make sure that we all stay around this vicinity here so that the griller, instead of going this side, it will go along on the other side instead. So that's why Marty is also calling this way to remind us like, okay, hey, we gotta just stay around here for a second to make sure that we don't delure this griller. And you'll see in a second here as well from the left. It comes pretty quickly too. Because even though we got an extra griller from the left side, there's still another one coming before it rotates back to another respawn location. So we want to make sure that this one still comes in pretty quickly. And as I mentioned earlier, at the start of the wave, we can pretty much kill everything as much as we can. But as the wave continues, we're going to be killing these grillers a lot closer to the basket. However, probably the most difficult thing about grillers is, I would say, the multitasking. Because the thing with grillers is you want to multitask in both killing these grillers as fast as you can and at the same time running these eggs. But the hardest part to me, I think, for many players is you want to have also just your eyes on, are you being targeted and how close is that griller? Because as you might see, I'm standing on this ramp to help kill this griller as fast as possible. And again, we need to do that in order to have this griller spawn faster and faster. But at the same time, I also already realize, okay, this griller is on me. It's already pretty close. That's also something you need to keep in mind, like how close is it? Do you have the time to do stuff? And as you'll see, I'll be dropping here pretty quickly. Because we need these grillers to come to basket as fast as we can. If we want to kill them as fast as possible. And that's really, to me, what this griller wave for the rest is about. It's just that multitasking of just first prioritizing the kill. And then making sure that you run the eggs at the same time while also focusing your eyes on the next spawns that are coming. Admittedly, the rolls are still important here, as you probably noticed by this point as well, is that Leia is focusing a lot on the small fries too. Because they have by far the best weapon to do so. So that we can run the eggs at the same time. But yeah, even then, Leia is also still damaging the griller whenever possible. And as you might see, sometimes I'm also still using the bomb technique from earlier, where I'm using my bomb to kill the griller faster than we did at the start of the wave. So ink management is very important, and we actually did at the end here as well. I should mention, we actually planned this out with Reiko and me. So the way we did this is, so Reiko and me made a rule for ourselves that I always bomb the first griller. So let's say in this case, there's only one griller. We both have our ink, all of them. I'm the one to bomb it. If there were a second griller, that one's on Reiko. And this was especially important here, I'll say, because I actually didn't have the ink anymore to throw an egg as a result. But Reiko still did, so... To be fair, we kind of screwed ourselves as well by getting a 70 on grillers, because at first we didn't think it was possible without the use of specials. Because I believe during the entire event there was only one single team that ever got a 70 and they used specials for it. And similarly for us, this was actually the only 70 griller that we got at all. So when we got this, we were like both happy and also sad at the same time, because like now we know that this is possible. So we gotta go for this every time we do this. Thankfully we managed to clutch out the rest of this shit, but getting the 70 griller was definitely the key part of getting into the top 3 for us here. Alright, so next up we have Wave 3. Wave 3 was admittedly a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. You might think it's not too crazy. The hash level isn't too high yet and it is high tide, but it ended up being a lot more difficult than I thought due to how the spawns were laid out. Now it starts out very simple as usual. We just kill everything because we can just afford to do it, because there's just simply not anything for us to do other than this right now. And there's just not too many eggs to really be worrying about. However, it becomes very crucial already, very quickly. As you might see, there's this flyfish spawning, and it gets killed pretty much instantly. If I go back for a few seconds here, you might see like the moment this dude opens the basket, it's spawn camped. However, this is for a very good reason. Because if I play this out for a few seconds, so as you see, the eggs on the flyfish, they spawn here. And at the same time, there's already another one spawning here. And this is very important. Because if I go to hide that here quickly, what's going on is that The first 5 fish on this map spawns here. And as you noticed, the next spawned here as a result if you kill it. However, if this spot is occupied, and there is another fly fish spawning in this location, it will instead go more to the left here. Now, if you kill this one, the eggs won't spawn here anymore. Instead, they'll go on this side now, which is a lot slower. And we're starting to get into the point in the wave where we want to really get eggs as close as we can, if we can afford it. So killing this fly fish instantly is very crucial in this part, so that we want to make sure that we get the eggs on this side of the map. Especially if I play out the rest of the wave, you'll see that we now start having 2 steelheads on the left, and we actually want to lure these. Because again, we're starting to get in the point where bosses are piling up as well as the eggs. So what we're doing here is Leia and me are staying in the basket, and Waco and Marty are gonna go on top of me here. Because the way that steelheads work is they'll just keep walking towards you, unless someone gets within their attack radius. So if I were to move up, for example, right now, they would start attacking me from this location. But because we're all staying far away, they're slowly walking towards us, putting the eggs a little bit closer to the basket. And I should mention, every single boss is pretty much planned out. I know by this point, I'm gonna aggravate the steelheads by getting closer and focus this fish stick, because they're a lot easier for me to deal with. And at the same time, I know Marty is on the right here somewhere. I can't even see it. Just focusing the steelheads and killing them from me, for the team, I should say. So everything here is really just planned out to basically every single boss. I do help with the second steelhead, just in case. But Marty's aim is insane. But I already deal with the fuse. I've already dealt with the fish stick here, so I could just help with it anyway. So next, in this point in the wave, we start splitting up quite a lot. So what we're going to be doing here is Leia and me are going to play basket. Waco here is going to just clear up the Eggstra a bit, and Marty's going to help us as well with spawns that are coming from the right next. But the positioning here is quite important, because Leia and me need to be here pretty quickly for this dude here. Because we're standing right here, this flipper is now going for us, putting it much closer to the basket than if it were to go for Marty, who's like on this pillar right now. Because if you ever play this out, you'll see that it's basically right next to basket. And in the meantime, Marty killed all the bosses on the left. As you can see, there's now a million eggs here. And I should mention, we're actually killing these very early on purpose. Because there's something I should explain about snatchers, and I think this is something a lot of you might have figured out as well in the not big run, the Eggstra Work event, is snatcher optimization. So there's something you need to know about snatchers and how they work. It is fairly simple. On each map you have set locations where they can spawn from. I won't go into all of them, but for now they spawn in around this vicinity. Now the way they work is, let's say there's an egg here. That's a pretty big egg, hold on. A snatcher will now spawn here. It will directly go to the egg in a straight line, and it will go back in the same line to the shore. Now, as you can probably tell, you can use this to your advantage, because you can just let the snatcher pick up the egg here, and while it's on the way to the basket, you just kill it when it's closer. And now instead of having to run this distance, you only have to run this distance now. And so that's what we're basically doing with all the eggs here. We're leaving all the eggs here for snatchers, just like one on the fish stick here too. And Marty, I believe, is watching these later when we rotate back to basket. I will be running these eggs here, because we have a lot of people right now running the last spawns, which I'll actually show in a second here. Because on the left, we have 2 stingers spawning. And as you can see, it's very busy. Because Waco, he was on the left earlier, and he was there to make sure that the stingers that are spawning here are dealt with immediately. We don't really have the time and space to get the eggs right now, and we can't really use the snatchers for them either. So we're leaving them for now, but they need to be killed right away. So that's what they're doing. And in the meantime, because I have a little bit of extra time, I'm running a few of these eggs. But as you can see, I'm leaving only one group. I'm only getting one group of eggs, while the rest gets the other ones. Now there's a little bit of a switch going on here. So Waco left the left side now, because the eel is on Waco. So he makes sure that it goes to basket. And in the meantime, Marty is then switching places with Waco for a second here to just kill everything here. Like, mine's even on the... I love this strategy. I think another team did this as well, but they kind of just go on the lid when it spawns. But yeah, Marty's just killing everything here. In the meantime, we're luring the eel to basket. And Leia and me are making sure that everything gets cleared up here, because there's a few more bosses coming that will play out here, because you have a flipper. Again, we make sure that this dude spawns to basket. Because if we play on the left too much, all of us, then this dude doesn't come right here. But by doing this here, we can get it right to basket and get the eggs in. And at this point, it's really just a matter of just kill everything, quite literally. I do take the scrapper to like try and get to basket, but I think it gets stalled on accident. But even then, we just decide like, okay, just kill it here. Because it's this point, it's really just a matter of just clearing out all of these lessers so that we can run the eggs. Because as you can probably see, there's a lot of eggs right now. And as you might notice, there's no lessers anymore. Because another reason why we're killing these so fast is these spawn rotations that I talked about earlier, they still apply. So for a certain time, the lessers were spawning from here. But eventually, they will stop spawning here and they will instead go on this side. Because even though there are no bosses anymore, these spawn rotations, they still apply all the time. So if you make sure that by the time that they start spawning on the left side, that we're all done already, we can just immediately start running all these eggs and not have to deal with these lessers anymore because they're on the other side of the map. This was a very crucial part of getting the 66 eggs, which is perfect in this case. All the bosses, all the golden eggs. Like how quickly we managed to clear out everything without mistakes on the left really determined whether or not we could get this perfect wave. So next up is Goldie Seeking on normal time. Now just as with the other waves, we already know the gushes where the Goldie is coming from, because it's the same seed. So we're basically just spawn camping this guy. I do feel bad for them sometimes, not gonna lie. But the positioning here is quite important. So we have Leia, Rake, or me standing on the bottom to help kill this Goldie. But Marty is instead on top. And that's for the reason, because the next Goldie is actually like on low tides in the direction. There's a gusher around here. So what Marty's doing is Marty's gonna help kill the Goldie from top mid. And as this Goldie dies, Marty's just gonna instantly open the gusher that's like down here with the charter range. Because if I play this out, you'll see we're pretty much killing this dude instantly. And as it dies, if you listen very carefully, you'll hear Marty opening the gusher in the middle now. Now, as you might notice, we're not killing this Goldie right away. And that's because with Goldie Seeking, what becomes very important is the positioning of the eggs. Because you can basically just infinitely get eggs as much as you like, especially in a seed like this. So what starts mattering a lot is where we kill it. So we want to kill the Goldie as close as we can to basket, which for this Goldie, it's going up here on the spiral on top mid. So ultimately you want to kill it around here, because this is the closest that they get to basket. But of course you need to also take into account the time it takes to kill it. So we're going to start killing like around here, so that it basically just dies here at this point. So this is like the closest that you get if you account for the full distance that it travels. So as you play it out, you start killing it. And you want to make sure that we all focus the Goldie, because getting the kill very quickly is important. However, before I continue on Goldie here, there's something again very important about snatch optimization. And this was actually, I love this so much about this wave. This is something Marty came up with. As you might notice, there's already a snatcher on the right. However, there's also a golden egg right here. You might ask, why is this golden egg here? Where did this come from? Why is it not in basket? And this is for a very good reason. So on this wave, the snatchers spawn on the left. And as you might have seen, we killed the Goldie for a dozen eggs on the right. So there's going to be a snatcher now coming from the left side to go for these eggs. And it's going to come back as usual. However, as you might see, the eggs, even though they get closer to basket, it isn't quite there. It's still quite a distance. It's below this ramp right now. But that's where this egg comes in. So what's happening is a snatcher, because of this egg on the basket, will now spawn from the left and will go for this egg directly. However, important to know for snatchers is that they have a radius. So snatchers have a radius of about this size, if I had to guess. That's a horribly done circle, but whatever. But what happens is, it will pick up this egg. And in the meantime, these eggs from the right side, they game here. And as the snatcher's in the process of picking up this egg here, it's now going to pick up the eggs on this side as well. All of them. And so what we're doing is we're letting it pick up all the eggs, and right before it leaves, we kill the snatcher in the location that it came to. And now the eggs are going to be here instead. And the reason this works is because there were no eggs here before at all. You might have seen me as well, like I accidentally put an egg next to basket, and I made sure to put it in immediately. Because Marty put an egg here for the first time ever. And because of that, a snatcher will go to this exact location. And next time that we kill the snatcher, all the eggs that it has, including the one from here, are now going to land here. So let me play this out a little, because I love this so much. It's a very cool idea. You make sure not to kill the snatcher, because again, we want to make sure that it stays alive. In the meantime, this dude is now here already. It's picking up the egg that we put earlier, as well as a few eggs that we got from the Goldie from now. But in the process, this snatcher is now coming back, and you can kind of see it. Marty just killed this one on the top right here. So if I let this play out for a little bit more, just ignore the Goldie for now. It's now picking up these eggs. I love this. What we do is we make sure that Ben is done getting all these eggs. And again, this dude has a pretty big radius. We're gonna kill this guy when he's done. And it's gonna, instead of the eggs being on this side now, they're gonna be here. It does take a bit for this little fella to get them all. But if you wait a bit longer, you'll see it's done now. Marty kills it. And if you get a better angle here, there we go. All the eggs are now much closer to basket. And these small optimizations, they might not seem like a lot, but especially in a shift or tournament even, I guess like this, where every team in the world is basically just trying to optimize this as much as they can. Small stuff like this, it's really gonna matter in the end. However, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, because as you might have noticed, there's a lot else going on at the same time. Because as you might have seen, we're also using a crab tank. So if I go back a little, you might see that we're using 2 crabs here, and that's for the reason that the DPS is just very useful, which is damage per second. In other words, basically, how quickly can we kill the Goldie? Because that's very crucial. Because even though crab tank is very cool for stuff like stinger, fly fish, and even fish sticks if you're really crazy, unfortunately, the DPS on this comp isn't too great, so we kind of need this kind of extra DPS if you can have it. So we're using the crab tank here to basically kill the Goldie. I'm barely even touching this Goldie, and it already pretty much died to the crab tank. And more importantly, the next Goldie is actually on basket. And especially for this one, we want to make sure that it dies as fast as possible. Because if I go back to the map, as I told earlier, we want to kill the Goldie as close as we can, like earlier where we want to kill it around here. Now for this one on basket, the closest place that you can kill it is right at the spawn. So we want to make sure that we kill it as fast as possible. If it goes along the side, it's still fine, but as it starts moving away, you really don't want it to be alive anymore at this point. So we use the crab tank to kill this as fast as we can. And the positioning lines up very well, because like Reiko crabs from here to this Goldie. The Goldie goes upwards for a bit, and then Reiko goes along with it, and then crabs from here to get the Goldie here. So this all lines up very well too. And in the meantime, I'm just on the left here running eggs at the same time, because yeah, we're spawning a lot of eggs. I think well over 100. Maybe I think 120 eggs I think we spawned at some point. So for Goldie Seeking, we're using a lot of specials simply just for the damage. Because yeah, as you see, Reiko is just killing this on its own. I'm running the eggs. And I'm waiting for when it dies. And then make sure that the next one opens right away. I will say we experimented a lot with both the timings of the Goldies, like when do we open the gushers, when do we use specials, which Goldie do we even get, do we get certain, not at all maybe. Because we actually, this Goldie here, we actually sometimes didn't go for it at all. In general, I think we could have improved the most on Goldie Seeking, because we did get 100 at some point, but we mostly stayed around like the 90 to 95 range in our shifts. So the fact that actually we got 94, I believe, in this one was still pretty good for us, I would say. But if we managed to push this even further to say 100, we could have gotten up to 340 golden egg. But overall, given this was the only time that we ever got a 70 on Grillers, I'm very happy that we managed to achieve a 94 here. And so next up is wave 5, the last wave. And admittedly, a very difficult one as well. We're already playing normal tide, and it's getting to a pretty high hazard level. We're still doing the same thing where we're just basically insta-killing this first spawn that we see because we have nothing else to do. So this just like here didn't stand in a single chance, he just got spawn camped, poor guy. However, things got very busy very quickly already. So as you might have noticed, Marty, now here, was staying pretty close to the shoreline, I think around here. And that's because there's a maw spawning right now. And the maw, they always go for the closest player. So you can see it here in the corner. This maw is now going for Marty. And what allows this us to do is Leia, Reiko, and me can now just be unbothered by it and just go mid. Because there's a lot of spawns coming from here that we did be dealing with. Because yeah, again, we're playing at 300% hazard level. It's very... spawns are going like crazy. Even here, again, I mentioned earlier, all the bosses are planned out. So this maw is always mine. I always bomb this one. Reiko always bombs the left of the fly fish, and Leia always bombs the right of the fly fish. Especially for extra work like this, you want to plan this out. Because you don't want situations where people are hesitating of like, oh, who's throwing the bomb on the maw? Is it you or is me? And then you just accidentally throw both a bomb on the maw, which, I mean, it's not too bad most of the time. But when you're optimizing shits to the amounts that we are and everyone else is in this tournament basically, then these kind of differences will start to matter. As you might notice, we are purposely staying back though from the big star cannon. Because we could already be running X here, because there's a lot at this point. But we're staying back for this guy. And that's for a very good reason, because you'll barely see it, but if you pay attention, there's a drizzler who basically instant dies. Not a single drizzler had a single chance in this entire shift, I feel like. We're making sure that the lid comes closer to the pistol cannon so that we can basically kill the pistol the moment it lands. And it's the same thing as with students from earlier. It just will keep coming towards you unless you get within a certain range, and then it will stop moving. And because of that, we can pretty much just instantly kill the lid as well because we don't need it anymore, and just run the Eggs at the same time. However, as I mentioned earlier, things are getting very busy again, so we're going to be splitting very quickly. So as you might have noticed, Waco is going to the right because the stinger spawn here. And at the same time, Leia is leaving to the other side of the map. Because you don't see it a lot from my point of view. There's a lot of stuff happening on the left and you don't see it at all from my perspective. Because I'm just... That's the funny thing as well with Eggstra Work. Everything is just so planned out for every player. Like you've gotten to the point where you just fully trust others to just deal with whatever they're dealing with. It's like, if it's not my concern to deal with it, I'm just not gonna focus on it. I'm just gonna focus on the exact things that I'm doing and just making sure that I optimize it as much as I can. So you won't be seeing much of what the others are doing here. I do recommend checking out their point of view though. Marty and Waco both uploaded it, so definitely check them out as well. Because right now, on the left, there's a stinger and a fish stick spawning. So Leia is using Ingot for that. And so if I go back a little, you can see like Waco and Leia, they're helping me quite a lot with the pistol cannon. But they leave a little bit earlier because they need to be dealing with other stuff. Because again, things are spawning like crazy right now. So they need to be split up a lot more. Now, after the spawns from left come, with the stinger and the fish stick that Leia deal with, and as well as a few other things. Now Waco and me are gonna focus mid here. Because again, fly fish, same thing. I bomb the left, Waco bombs the right. But as you might notice, I'm staying pretty close to the left side here. And that's for these fellas here. So in middle, we now have an eel spawning. This eel is on me. And we have two heads. And we want to make sure that these guys are going to the right side along with the eel. Because if I go to the map view quick, we want to make sure that the dudes spawning here and here, they go to the right. So it's very important for someone, and in this case me, to stand close enough to make sure that they go towards the right side. Because especially the one in the middle here, it's very easy for this dude to go to the left. Because remember, there's a lot of stuff spawning here as well in the meantime. And we want to be dealing with that too. So someone needs to be standing close enough to make sure that they lure the stewards instead, because they go for the closest player. If the middle steward goes to the left, it's not too bad, but ultimately we want to have them all go to the right so that we can line up things really well. So as you see, I'm slowly moving towards the basket here. And again, this is where things start splitting up quite a bit again. So at this point in the shift, there's a lot going on, and I'll try my best to explain it all. So first of all, as I mentioned earlier, this eel's on me. I need to make sure I booyah in time. Because I want to make sure that this eel isn't below me by the time I booyah, because it's going to destroy my ass. So I booyah in time, because what it does is it will delure the eel. So if I play it out a little, it's now going away. It's going for either Waco or Leia, I think here. But whoever it is, it's not me, which is what matters. And I'm using this booyah to kill the stinger here. And at the same time, as you might have noticed, there's little Marty up here. You can barely see it. While I was doing all this, Marty went up the spiral to make sure that these two heads are coming closer to basket. Because the way it works is that two heads, first of all, they go to the closest player, but they only attack if you're below their hitbox. And so Marty, staying up here and closer to the two heads, will cast these two heads to just go for Marty, but they won't attack unless Marty either drops from up here or if someone else ends up getting close to them. So if I play this out, what you'll see is I kill the stinger here. The stewards are coming closer. I'm gonna make sure to go next to them at that, and they're still not attacking. Only by the time that Marty is dropping off top mid or I'm getting closer are they attacking. And again, we plan this out. I know Marty's going for the stewards, so I'm not bothering with them. I'm going to mid because in the meantime there's two big shots happening. And this is really cool as well. There's this Drizzler. So let me go back for a second because there's a reason why this Drizzler lines up so well. Because around the same time that the stinger spawns on the right here, there's also a Drizzler coming around here from the same time, which jumps first to mid, where you see it later. But if no one is close enough, it's gonna jump instead to top mid here, which is not as optimal as you might think. So what we're doing is Marty, who goes on the spiral to, first off, lure the stewards that are coming from the right, is also making sure to stand far enough to the left side here to aggravate the Drizzler, so it starts attacking Marty. And this allows us to, by the time that I get back, this Drizzler is now in the second phase, in a perfect position for me to kill it with the torpedo. And again, these small optimizations, they matter. Like I don't want to be shooting the Drizzler with my own weapon if I can, because it's so much slower. And now, by the time I get back, it's just do the thing and you're done. I love how well this lines up. It's so good. I should mention, we did experiment with this a lot. I also tried like going to the big shots on the first cycle of the Drizzler, but then it didn't quite work out. We also figured it was pretty useful for me to stay around basket a little bit longer to just kill stuff as well. But yeah, this was a very big part of it too. However, one more thing to mention here is, along with these two big shots here, there's this two spawning here. And as you might remember from earlier, I mentioned that Moss, they go for the closest targets. This guy, I think, spawns around here. And I'm right now the closest player, so he's gonna go aggro me. But when I have to deal with two big shots already, I don't really have the ink management to get this guy as well. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna have it attacking once. This booyah here is pretty early on purpose. Because from earlier, as you might have noticed, the eel stopped going from me. That's the booyah. And the mod does the same thing. I don't think you see it, but you can kind of tell because you can see it. This maul is now gone. It's not going for me anymore. And that's because I use booyah. Because I use booyah, this maul is now going away from me. And the only players that are left are Marty, Leia, and Reiko, who are all a basket. So this maul is now going to basket, leaving me to just deal with the big shots. And that's also why I kind of save the booyah for the end as well. Just for the simple fact that I can both deal with the big shots, all the lessers, and also make sure that this maul goes away from me. Admittedly, it is pretty difficult to deal with all the lessers here, because they start piling up quite a lot. And this is something I did want to experiment a lot more in Afterthought. Because I think you can kind of like, maybe even manipulate the lessers. Like, you don't kill others on purpose, just so that they don't spawn in other locations. But I didn't really get to try this much. But yeah, that's 82 on normal tide. Honestly, I'm very happy with that. Because I think you can push this to 85 if you're very well organized. And maybe even a 90 if you have unlimited time to practice it. But getting 82, especially along with 7 gooders, I think I'm very happy. I'm very proud that we got that. Given that was the only time that we ever got a 70 gorilla in the first place, and I think that's really what, yeah, secured this 333x for us. But yeah, I hope that explains a little bit of what was going on in each wave. I should mention there was a lot of experimentation here and there, because for example, we also tried, like, instead of luring these two heads at the end of wave 5, what happens if we kill them at the big shot instead? Is that potentially any better? Things like that. We use specials in other locations. There's a lot of stuff that we played around with. But this is how we ended up setting with, and thankfully it was good enough to get us into top 3. This was a very interesting event as well, because usually it's a lot about just adaptation and party execution as well. Because usually you don't know what bosses are coming, so it's really just a matter of like, do you have the awareness and also just the understanding of how to deal with it, whatever it may be. But in this case, you knew what was coming, so this is really about how much can you optimize it and how consistent can you perform at that level. Say, for example, you get a 70 gorilla for the first and only time during the entire event. Can you still perform to that same consistency to get the other waves as good as you normally can? And 5 waves is a lot. It's 500 seconds of pure optimized gameplay all the time, as much as you can. It was very fun to try and see how far we could push that. And I'm glad we could manage to get into a top 2 spot. So either way, I hope this helped a lot at understanding what we kind of tried to do here. But yeah, of course, if things are unclear for you to ask, this is not my best friend to do this kind of thing, so I hope it kind of makes sense at least, and help at least a few people understand what we're trying to do here. Because it is very fun, it's very interesting. There's a lot of things about Splatoon that are really enjoyable, I would say, so hope you all could see a little bit of that. So with that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you all next time. Alright, give me that egg.
So on the last possible frame.
Yeah. Make sure you get it in time still.
Wait, Julie, look.
Yeah. This is so good.